Hello and welcome to the sports segment of Orangeline. Chris Smith alongside Alex Dingman here at the Hall of Fame Rotunda in Collins Center in front of the trophy cases. We sure do have a lot of them. We got George Collins right behind us actually.
Yep.
Get things going with some Baker football. First of all, how do you pick a team of the week when everybody's a winner?
Yeah.
So we'll start off with Baker football. We're going to give it to everybody. Football, soccer, both teams, cross country, volleyball, everybody played awesome this week. So there will be no team of the week segment. We're going to do a blanket sports coverage. Let's start off Baker football.
Yeah.
Homecoming football beats Graceland 41-3. Unbelievable game. Richie Bryant, 15 carries, 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mac Brown, again, as efficient as ever, 12 of 19 for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then, of course, Kendall Bradley and Dave Foltz come in and able to get some snaps and take their some series of their own. So fantastic football game. What a night to remember for these players.
Yeah, it looks like Baker did a good job of scheduling the right team here for homecoming. Absolutely. And it being Hall of Fame weekend as well. A lot of alumni coming back, and they must be thinking that Baker's got to be one of the greatest teams going right now after that performance. And, you know, they are very good. And Graceland, you know, they're the QB that played the majority of the time for them is also their punter. And that happens a lot in high school, not too much at the college level, and for good reason, turns out. And they went through 3 quarterbacks in that ball game. Richie Bryant, 171 total yards and those 3 touchdowns. I mean, he's been tearing it up with over 100 yards in each conference game.
On just 17 touches, too.
Yeah, I mean, he barely played in the second half. He pretty much went a drive, scored a touchdown, and then said, all right, peace, I'm out. I'm going to turn it over to Blaine Crow and the rest of the Wildcats out there.
Let me just score from 54 yards out twice in a row real quick. No big deal, really.
Yeah, for sure.
On a day's work.
And the only real brutal thing coming out of that, Phil Collins, a little injured after that one, roughed up a knee a little bit, but we'll see if there's any long-term damage there. But for the most part, Wildcats really rolling right now, and now they get William Jewell on Saturday. We all know what happened last year. Derek Dorfler became a Baker legend, hitting that 62-yard field goal to win the game there. And
zeros on the clock.
I mean, the most amazing thing is that they're doing so well, 3-1 conference play. Dorfler hasn't even made a field goal yet.
Right.
And that was supposed to be the strongest part of our game, but I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to say that the special teams is kind of just lagging behind a little bit the offensive defense at this point, because we know what they can do, what they can bring to the table, and it should all come together here at the right time at the end of the year, hopefully.
Absolutely. Let's go back real quick and talk about the defense in this game. Also, certainly needs to be talked about. Only allowed 3 points, and with 2 pick-6 interceptions. I mean, you can't ask for much better playmaking than that. Rodney Harris getting involved early, and by early I mean 7 seconds into the game. And then, of course, Eric Allen taking one of the hizzy from 38. So
yeah,
impressive showing on defense. Linebackers flew to the ball up front, got a lot of pressure. Philip Weinmaster had a couple of sacks, and it was just overall a great performance.
Oh, most definitely. Spencer Curran, the leading tackler last year, he had 10 tackles. Colton Miller chipped in with 10 as well. He's just a manimal out there disrupting things, and that secondary is just doing such a good job. You talked about just the ball hawks. We keep reiterating the fact that they just keep getting those interceptions. And how about the year Rodney Harris is having right here? Word is he was supposed to be a wide receiver, turning to quarterback because he can't catch, and now he's, I believe, tied for the lead in the hack with 4 interceptions. So he can catch a little bit there, at least a quick little screen pass from a Graceland quarterback.
I'm not letting him play offense.
Yeah,
he's my playmaker.
There you go. So,
all right, and then
big things.
You had something you wanted to share with Graceland, is that right?
Yeah, I know. I had a lot of emotion here, and
it's homecoming.
I felt like Graceland maybe just needed a kind word from somebody. So, go ahead. I went ahead and wrote him a letter, actually.
Oh, that's great.
Let's go here. Dear Graceland, I'm sorry for your recent devastating loss. Your poor little Yellow Jackets never had a chance against the rough and tough Wildcats. At least it was over quickly, as the Cats were up 21-0 after only the first 6 minutes. It was upsetting to see your starting QB, Garrett Grunman, throw his first pass for a Baker touchdown and then be lined up at wide receiver on the next drive and immediately be taken out of the game by a devastating hit unleashed by Colton Miller. I hope that not too many Jacket players are out for this week's game, because there is hope for Graceland, as they are playing Culver Stockton this weekend, who is also winless. Baker thanks you for allowing us to have such a fun homecoming, and better luck to you in your future endeavors. Best wishes, Alex Dingman and the entire Orangeline staff. Man, I just feel awful, you know, just wasn't even fair.
That was really, really sweet.
Yeah. Will you hold that for me, George?
I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Let's move on to some football of a different kind. The prep ranks, Baldwin High still rolling, still first in the Frontier League. Big victory over the Ottawa Cyclones on the road. And by big, I mean it was never even close.
Yeah, it's 35-7, and Ottawa actually being the last team to score there. So Baldwin High getting that rivalry game, and just looking very impressive. Ottawa, a 5A team as well. Baldwin High just a 4A, but running over that Ottawa team really with no answer to it, especially offensively. They threw 4 interceptions, Ottawa did there in the first half. Andy Thurlow had a couple of those picks, and Sam Beecher with a couple more touchdowns to make it now 9 touchdowns in his last 3 games. And now for the season has 741 yards rushing and has over 1,000 yards in total offense. Hasn't even thrown an interception yet. He's completing over 50% of his passes. He's got 3 touchdowns, so much for him not being able to be a quarterback as well as a great runner. And now they have a Lewisburg team on Friday that beat Baldwin High twice last year, the second time coming in the state semifinals. So definitely a little bitterness there. And Sam Beecher and the rest of the guys that are returning, don't forget that from last year. And Lewisburg, however, only returning 1 starter.
Right.
So a much different team, and it should be a good ball game on Friday, and one that Baldwin High could win potentially to help them get the rest of the regular season over with, where they could possibly run the tables and go 8-1. But they still have a couple tough teams, Perry-Lecompton being one, and Eudora to end the year. But looking very sharp right now.
Absolutely. You got to think that if we can get past Lewisburg this weekend, that they have a very, very good chance of running the table. And certainly, just what you said, this is definitely going to be a vengeance game for Baldwin High, as they were knocked out of the state final running in the state semifinals by this Lewisburg team. But again, very different team. I'm looking for much of the same performance as it's been the past few weeks for Baldwin High. I'm looking for them to keep rolling.
Yep. Good job, Bulldogs.
Let's move on to some men's and women's soccer, also our fellow team of the week, along with football. Both on a 4-game winning streak, able to pull out a tough win, 1-0, both teams over Missouri Valley, a conference rival, and remain both of them at first atop the HAC conference, which is impressive considering both, the men's and the women's HAC conferences is considered to be in the top 2-3 conferences in the entire country. So great result for both of them. Komi Okioma finally getting the thing going, getting on the board, scored the game winner in the men's game, and then Michaela Medlock, the junior, tallied the winner for the women. As I said, both teams sit across the HAC conference, looking really good. Play Park, the men do. Tonight, actually, results obviously not available at airtime, but we'll have that result for you next week, as Park is ranked in the top 10 in the country. So this will be a big one. This will be a very big one for Longo Points and Baker's postseason hopes as well. Let's move on to some cross-country. Cross-country team performed well at the Emporia Jocks Niche Tournament. It was certainly their best effort of the season. Amber Keith placed 25th out of 131 runners, so kudos to her. Mary Loveland coming in just behind her at 33rd in the entire meet. And then on the men's side, what can you say about Arnold Sorori? Last week, nabbed the 8th place in the entire meet, and then the 4th best 8K time in Baker history. So great job cross-country. Glad we got some coverage for you. And then for the men also, every Baker men's cross-country runner performed his personal best at last week's tournament. So if they continue to improve, really sky's the limit for Coach Kindler and his returning players. On the volleyball side, volleyball team went 2-2 at Lindenwood, which is an extremely tough tournament. Lindenwood, of course, a volleyball powerhouse, always nationally ranked. But that was the only 2 matches BU has dropped in its last 12. So volleyball still rolling. All the teams, just fantastic week. Congratulations to everybody.
Perfect weekend.
And we'll shoot it back to the studio.
Thanks, Alex and Chris, and always, great job. And now we're going to take a look at this week's final freshman.
My name's Colton King. I'm from Olathe, Kansas, and my major is musical education, and my favorite thing about Baker is all the new people I'm meeting this year. Well, I'm part of Sigma Phi Epsilon, part of the school orchestra, and that's pretty much it.
Well, that's going to wrap up this week's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. For Orangeline, I'm Zach Rocky.
And I'm Rena Murphy.
See you next week.